Hello, my name is Kelsey, and I baked a pie so I could eat my feelings with purpose today. Welcome to the podcast, Can You Take My Shift? This podcast is about bonding with your coworkers about how much you hate your job. So I just have one question for you, Amy. Can you take my shift?
You sound a little sad this week, so I will take your shift for you. You doing okay?
Yeah, I was just ready to go back to school, and then the government said no money for you, so that's fun. It's been like a real sad week all around for many people. It's also, the summer is winding to an end. The long weekend is upon us. So, to end on a positive note for this summer, Amy, what was your favorite memory of our summer we had? Our weird COVID pandemic summer.
Weird quarantine summer. I would say I have top 3.
Okay.
I can't believe I have even a top 3. I guess one a month.
That's fair. Okay.
Yeah, one a month. When we got our matching tattoos.
Oh yeah, June. That's my June. Best memory of June too.
That was really fun. July was probably, we did get to go to the beach a decent amount of time, socially distancing, of course. We were very safe, not around people, with our own little bubble. That was really nice. I went to the beach a lot more this summer than I thought I was going to be able to, so that was really good. And then camping. Camping was so fun.
Yeah, I think my favorite, my top 3 is almost the same. Getting our tattoos, going camping was super fun. And then my birthday wasn't what I wanted it to be, but it was still a great birthday, and I drank so much champagne.
So much champagne,
but it was definitely worth it. But we do have to say goodbye to the summer, and know what a lot of people have to say goodbye to? Summer jobs. I mean, maybe I should have tried to get a summer job to help pay for my schooling, but, we've all had some great summer jobs, and we've all had some not so great. And I mean, I'm not talking about, your job that you work throughout the year and then it just goes into summer. No, that's not a summer job.
No.
That's just your regular job, just living a regular day. We are talking about those seasonal hires, those jobs that get in the way of the glorified summer experience that we're all promised by Pinterest and Instagram. Oh, we're ready for the summer. No, you're still going to be working 40-hour weeks at a summer job.
Exactly.
So I've had technically 2 real summer jobs, and then 2 kind of, it's hard to explain, but I'll get into it. So when I was in high school, I worked at the movie theater. But that was my job year-round. So I worked there in the summer. I worked a little bit more in the summers, obviously, because I could. But my very first summer job was actually filming a made-for-TV movie for a kids' TV channel. I'm not going to go more into that. It is on, last time I checked, it's on American Netflix. It's not on Canadian Netflix. It's not on any other streaming services we currently own, even though I have requested it multiple times on this one streaming service. So I spent 2 weeks of the very end of my summer, right before I was going to my first year of college, I spent 2 weeks filming a children's movie that was set in high school. So it was supposed to be set in September, October, November. I think there were the 3 months we were filming, but it was the middle of August, and it was a good 30, 35 degrees every day.
Oh, and did they have you dressed in sweaters and things?
Yeah, so we're all in fall clothes. Most of my outfits, I wore, I think, so many dresses and jean jackets, so it wasn't that bad for me, except for the day they put me in jeans and a long sleeve button-up. Oh. And it wasn't, the inside wasn't bad at all, but doing the outside scenes, where one scene I had to walk across this parking lot, I think 45 times.
God, that's way too many.
Yeah, because I was doing a bunch of extra work, so just walking outside, and then the big problem was there was so many wasps. There was wasps everywhere. So the age-old, summer, you cut the 2-liter bottle of pop, you flip it.
Yeah.
Those things were everywhere around set, and we're talking, those things would be full. So, yeah, so we're trying to film this fall movie in the middle of summer, because movies are never filmed. Any high school movie is almost always filmed in the summer or on spring break, because they need the school to be empty.
Yeah, of course.
So we're all standing there. It was worse for the guys because all of the guys were in pants. A lot of them were in sweaters. One of the guys I was paired with a lot of the time, he was always dripping with sweat because it was so hot.
Poor guy.
And then I was trying not to get stung by a bee the entire time. So that was my very first technically summer job because it was only in the summer for 2 weeks. Yeah. I made a good chunk of change. Then I also did film another movie in a high school. I filmed an indie movie, again, in the middle of summer, in a high school, except they put me in a leather jacket and jeans, and again, was walking. This one I actually had some lines in, so I actually had a part in this movie. Yeah. But they also had me walk across the parking lot 18 times in a black leather jacket and black motorcycle boots, and then sweating.
God.
So if you ever want to film a movie that is set in high school, it's always going to be in the middle of summer, and good luck. But that would be my very first foray into summer jobs. But then I really didn't get after my first year of college, I moved back home. So I was like, okay, I got to get a summer job. A lot of places were not hiring. But my sister worked at this recreation park where they had go-karts, mini golf. Yeah. They used to have a water park, but the water park closed down. They had batting cages, and then they had a racetrack, like a speedway racetrack.
Oh, wow.
So I got hired to work at the concession. So I was like, okay. Then the owner / manager comes to me, and she's like, I want to promote you. I was like, okay. Where is she promoting? Because I was working in the concession that was just for the general public. Well, they had a concession in the very middle of the racetrack with the pit.
Oh, wow.
So this concession was in the middle of the pit, so the cars are zipping around you. And I was like, okay, what is my job to here? So my job was to sell the food and drinks to all the drivers and the pit crew. Yeah. And it was the weirdest experience. So I was in this little tiny hut. It was so hot because, of course, again, the middle of summer, little hut, no air conditioning. My one fan, bless its heart, was going every day. I was sweating. I worked mainly with, so it was me, and then I worked with a 15-year-old girl, and then this very old man who had been there for like 20 years ran the grill. So it was the three of us every weekend.
Oh, that's so fun.
We were the weirdest pairing, the three of us, because she was your tall, skinny 15-year-old little blonde girl. Yeah. I was just fresh out of college, and then the cook, you could barely understand what he'd saying half the time because he just had this really gruff voice. But I almost learned how to speak his language. Yeah. Because he wouldn't say much, but when he said something.
Was it kind of philosophical? Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah, and the burgers and hot dogs were so greasy, but they were so good. And sometimes I would bring him cookies, and then he would bring me ice cream from the gas station. It was a weird
little friendship.
It was a weird friendship me and this old man had. But so I worked in the pit, so we would get regular car racing. They would have they would race junk boxes, monster trucks. Oh, I didn't know if I was going to be able to hear after Monster Truck Day.
Oh God.
Because they had these giant monster trucks, and I'm in the middle of the pit, and then people would come up to the window to try and order, and they'd be screaming at me, and I'd just be staring. Because you can't hear what each other is saying. Aww. I'd be like, can you wait till after they're done? But it would always they'd be screaming their order, the truck would be going, and then, the age old, the truck would stop, and they'd still be screaming.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I'll get you your burger.
Don't have to yell at me.
Exactly. So it was a very interesting job. I worked there all summer, but the one big thing we had a problem with. So the owner didn't want us to have a tip jar.
Oh, that's rude.
Yeah, so we were serving food, we were making minimum wage, but she didn't want us to have a tip jar because her excuse was, McDonald's doesn't have a tip jar, so why should you have a tip jar? This isn't McDonald's. This isn't
That's
okay.
Literally the dumbest.
It was the dumbest thing ever. She would take our tip jar away every time we find it. So we started getting me and the cook, because we would make a good I could make between like $20 to $30 in tips a night, which was split between like so $20-$30 each, split between the three of us. When you're making minimum wage,
that's a lot of money.
Yeah, this was 5 years ago. Like it was like a couple extra hours. No, like you of course we want to make tips. So the cook and I started getting really creative on our tip jars because we would also too. So every Sunday morning they would put like a swap and shop up there, so people would have these little stalls all around the racetrack. So it was a giant garage sale.
Yeah.
And I would get up because it's opened at 6 a.m.
Gross.
So I would get up at 5 a.m. in the morning to drive, because it was across town. So it took me about a half an hour. So I'd drive across town, be up there 5 a.m. in the morning, and I would just be sitting there drinking a Monster because the coffee was so bad. I would have rather I went full Kyle over drinking that coffee. I was drinking Monsters almost every day. Again, I don't recognize that person.
Gross.
And so he would leave. So what the cook would do, he'd make some prepared, some sandwich, like we did breakfast sandwiches, and then he'd leave and he would walk around and he would shop for a new tip jar, everything. So we had like a regular cup. She took the cup away. He bought a little toy dump truck.
Cute.
That we had that one for a while, and that one was working because it didn't say anything. It was just right in front of the till, so people would just assume you drop a couple bait coins in there.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh, that's the tip jar. So it was working out great, except one of the guys from the main concession, picked up the other girl's shift one time when I wasn't there, and he wrote tips on it.
Oh, no.
So she took the dump truck away.
No.
Oh, we were so mad. And then one day, it was like one of the last couple of weeks, end of summer, he found these 2 glass boot cups. You know, the classic boot cups. I think they're cowboy boot cups. So he put those there. And then he would have these bait cutlery little circles.
Yeah.
So when he saw her coming, he would just toss it on top of the money.
Aww.
And then when she'd leave, he'd pop it out. We were good to go. I think that's still the lamest argument. If McDonald's doesn't take tips, you can't take tips.
No, that's extremely rude.
So at the end of the summer, I said, so, I'm leaving. It was really nice to get to know you. And he was so nice, and they wanted to oust. And the manager also, too, wanted to fire him because he'd been there so long. So she was paying him way too much.
Yeah.
But he's like, nah, you can't fire me. Like, I am here. I'm a part of this place. So as my parting gift, he grabbed the 2 boots. He's like, no one deserves these more than you. They were empty. He didn't give me all the tip money.
Too bad.
Yeah. No, but he's like, take the boots. And you know what? I still have those boots.
Yeah, those are the ones sitting in our cupboard now, right? Yeah, that we never drink out of, but they're just there.
They're just hard to clean, but they're so cute. I can't get rid of them.
They're tacky.
Yeah.
They're cute, but they're tacky.
Oh, shut up. You know what? That poor cook's heart. Those are for me. I earned those.
You did. But they're still tacky.
So I've worked one more summer job, but why don't we talk about your summer job first? Because I feel like I've been talking for a while.
That's okay. I don't have like a super interesting summer job. I guess technically I've worked 2. My first one was when I was 14, and I worked it every summer until I was 16, when I got like my real job at the coffee shop. And all I did all summer was play music at the rink for my aunt's like figure skating summer school. So I would just I would have to wake up at 5:30 in the morning, and no 14, 15-year-old wants to be doing that. So I would go in, and the highlight of my morning is we would always stop at McDonald's. So I'd always get a hash brown in the morning before going to the rink. I'd get to the rink, and I would be bundled up in a winter coat, 2 layers of pants, boots, and gloves, in the middle of summer. So I'd always have to bring an extra pair of clothes with me, and I brought like a blanket and a pillow. I felt like a little grandma just sitting in this little music booth where I would just play people's like solo music, or I would play if they ever had to do like their figures, like those are really big things, or they ever had like dance. I had to play all the dance music, and I'd have to sit there and pay attention to all of them because the coaches would always just like wave, and if I wasn't paying attention, they'd be like, "Hey, me!" from like across the rink, and I'm like, what? Like, sorry. So that wasn't anything too crazy. The best part of that was A, going to McDonald's every morning. B, I kind of got paid just to sit around, and I got to play my, like, during like free time when everyone just got to practice, I got to play my own music. So that was really, I always played a lot of like One Direction or like
I was just about to say, how much One Direction did you play?
Way too much. And sometimes my aunt would be like, can you plug in my music, please? And I'm like, okay. So I would do it for like 20 minutes and then I would go back to mine. So that was fun. And then I got to know a lot of the kids because like my aunt taught them all and my cousin also skated. So I'd go hang out with them and we would play like whenever I got my lunch break was when the kids got their lunch break too. So I got to hang out with all of them, which was really nice. But I remember we would play like card games or board games, and one of the games we'd always play was spoons, but we wouldn't play with spoons.
Oh no.
We would play with skate guards. And skate guards, for anyone who doesn't know, who's never been skating, they're things that you put over to protect the blade of your skate, but they're hard plastic. Like they could hurt somebody.
More interesting if you're playing with skate blades.
No, it's not more. Well, I guess it is more interesting, but it's also extremely dangerous. So we would put all the guards in the middle. And I remember we were all like, when you play with kids who played sports, you're all super competitive.
Oh yeah.
So I remember one time we were getting down to like the nitty gritty. It was only a couple people left, and the cards were being passed around, and then people went and reached for the skate guards in the middle, and two kids started fighting over it. We were all like super young, so we're like, yeah, like
fight, fight. Yeah,
we were all little shits. So we go, and then they're just held together by little springs. The springs break off, and the one kid was able to like swing away, but the other girl, it went straight into her nose, and she gave herself, I think she did something to her nose and then chipped part of her tooth. So she had to go home.
I think she had to go to the hospital.
Yeah, she went somewhere, not at the rink.
Yeah.
And from then on, we weren't allowed to play spoons anymore.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. I can't remember. I think my aunt or one of the coaches had to pay to replace the skate guards, which is like not like, that's very nice. But other than that,
if it was America, they'd be paying for the hospital bills.
Yeah, exactly. So thankfully there was that. And then other than that, I would just always remember on Fridays we would go and get ice cream. So that was really nice. But it always sucked walking out of the rink at the end of the day because you were there from 7 a.m. till 5 o'clock at night. And just walking outside in like winter clothes in the middle of 30-degree weather, you're like, this is disgusting.
I mean, are you a true Canadian sibling if you did not spend a significant amount in a rink time
at any point in your sibling's life?
Yeah, in your childhood? No. Yeah, I spent so much time in a rink. That was not for me.
Yeah, same. So that was about it. And then I worked another, I'm not really going to go into this because I don't technically count as a summer job. I got hired at like a retail store for 6 months, but it was only for 6 months because that was my choosing. I decided to quit after 6 months because it was just getting way too stressful and I needed to go back to school. So that was about it. I've been pretty chill with my summer jobs. But we'll get back into yours.
God, mine feel like a lot. So my last summer job was, last summer I was working at a restaurant. We were not busy. At one point we had lost our liquor license. So we really were not busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a wild time working for that restaurant. Like, I can say a lot of really mean, really bad things about that restaurant, but that's not what this episode's about. No, this episode is, so I was looking for a way out. So I decided I didn't want to work in food anymore, so I was going to find a job that just, for the love of God, was not in food. And I found a listing for a boat rental place. Now, I grew up on the water. My family had a lake house. No, we had a boat as a kid. I wakeboarded, we did tubing, I've kayaked for years, I have my White Sail 1 certificate so I can legally sail one of those like little bathtub boats. I have my speed boat license, like my motorboat license. So I'm very much was good about boats.
Basically what Kelsey's saying is boats. Boats,
yeah. I even sold boats for a weekend at a boat show. I was supposed to be the boats girl and literally hand out flyers, but they're like, oh, you should talk to the customers, try to make a sale. So I just bullshitted my whole way through that weekend.
Well, that's good.
Well, they almost even hired me to be their full-time receptionist, but then I guess they didn't clear it through the other boss, and they're like, no, we don't have money to hire somebody. And I was like, cool, good thing I didn't almost quit my job. I was on my way to give my 2 weeks at another job when they're like, actually, we can't hire you. And I just got off the bus.
It's like, what's that meme of like Grandpa Simpson like walking into the house. He puts his coat and thing on the rack, and then he walks back out.
Yeah,
he just like in and out.
Yeah, or Troy with the pizza boxes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I have a lot of boat experience. So I go to the place, I go and I was like, okay, what do you wear to a boat interview? I was like, I got this. Jeans, some nice clean white Converse, a button-down shirt, so I don't look too fancy, but I also look laid back and professional. I had this. I walk in, fully prepared to give this man the best interview of his life. Within 5 minutes, he tells me I'm hired. So
wow.
I got that job fast. Because I had told him that I'd worked for, he really liked the fact that I worked for the theme park. Because when you have the theme park on your resume, people are either really into it or do not care. So he was really into it. So he just hired me. He was like, what's your availability? So I was like, I'm going to work my other job around this job because this job's going to pay me more and I hate the other place. So that's the gist of it. So I start working there. And so I start working there. The girl that's training me is the boss's daughter. Super nice. She's in high school. And we were working the front desk, answering the phones, doing the email, doing the online booking. So that was my job. So I sat in this little boathouse on the water. Now, I got so seasick my first day because we're on the water. I came home and just laid down for hours and I still felt like I was rocking.
Yeah, you got sea legs. I remember you coming home and I'm like, are you good? And she's like, everything just feels like it's moving. Yeah.
It was rough, but I got used to it quite quickly after that. So I would work in the office with her, and then I would work with this other older woman. Her English was okay. She was so sweet, so nice, but she didn't understand me most of the time. She was the accountant, and she was so good with numbers, but I'd be like, hey, how are you? And she'd be like, good.
Aww.
She was so sweet. She was an older Chinese lady, so sweet. So I just learned, okay, I can't talk because I am a very fast talker. I was like, I cannot talk fast around her because English was, I think, her third language, too. So I was like, wow, you are so smart. I'm not gonna talk a mile a minute around you. That the three of us would work in the office together. That was fine. Now, so when you would come, you would rent a speedboat. You would have to, I think they were called skippers. So the boats were self-driving. So you would get a temporary boat license. You'd watch a training video, and then the skippers or the dock boys would go over your training. Now, to someone who has a lot of boat experience, this is scary. You're just giving random tourists giant motor vehicles. They just have half a driver's license, and you're just saying, have fun.
Yeah, as someone who got to go on one of those boats, it doesn't have a driver's license, and drove it. It was an experience, to say the least.
So I get hired, and we have Kelsey's no dating her coworkers rule. The one time I almost broke it because, my God, it was a buffet of cute boys.
Irish boys.
It was, yeah, because pre-COVID, it's the J1 visa that people would come from Ireland to come here for the summer. So they stay for the summer, they work, they party, and then they go back to Ireland. And since it was a seasonal job, that's what it attracts. It was a seasonal job. You didn't really have to have much qualifications, as I learned later for them. And you just had to be hardworking. So it was just all hot Irish guys. And a couple, like, not from Ireland. I think there was, like, one Canadian guy. He was really nice. He'd sit in the office with me and he'd get really bored. But I was just like, ugh. But I did not know how to talk to them. So Amy, since she works at the coffee shop, I was like, okay, how am I going to get all these boys to like me? Because none of them talk to me except for the Canadian.
Yeah.
He's the only one who comes to talk to me. So I'd be like, Amy, I need you to bring me home all the pastries, everything going out. And you'd be like, well, you don't like this. I don't care that I don't like this. This isn't for me.
Yeah, I think you started bringing in like a pretty like decent sized Rubbermaid container. And because at the coffee shop, anything that's expired, we would either donate or throw away. And I would take it home, basically.
You would donate it to me?
I would donate it to the poor, and I am the poor. So it would be donated to me, and then I'd give it to you, and you'd give it to all these boys.
Yeah, so I'd come in, so I had my giant Rubbermaid bin, I like put a sticky note that just said, help yourself, with a smiley face. And the first time, they were like really hesitant, so I'd be like, hey, if you're hungry, because these boys would forget their lunch every day.
Yeah, of
like,
course.
We worked around a ton of food places, but, you know, eating out every day adds up very quickly.
Yes.
So I was literally bribing them with food to talk to me. I'd be like, oh, hey, just help yourself. And they'd be like, why do you have pastries? And then one guy was like, why are you spending money on us? And I was like, oh, those are free. Because the one guy was like, as soon as they found out that I got them for free, they all disappeared.
Yeah.
Because they were very hesitant at the beginning. They're like, why is she spending? Because when you, like, calculate how much I had there, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, it was a decent chunk of change.
Once they figured out that I wasn't spending hundreds of dollars on them every other day, I would literally bring that Rubbermaid. Because I wouldn't do it every day. I didn't want them to rely on it. I didn't want them to get complacent. But every once in a while, I would bring my tub, I'd put my little sticky note, and they'd be gone. And it was great, except for one of my coworkers, and I never figured out which one of them would take a bite of something and then put it back if he didn't like it.
That's disgusting. Why would you do that?
I don't know. And that man one of them was secretly Satan.
It was one of you.
It was one of you, because my coworker, the older Chinese lady, she'd be like, oh, this is what she really liked, the lemon loaf.
Yeah.
So I would make sure to put one aside for her. So that wouldn't happen to her lemon loaf, because that happened one time. She was so excited for her lemon loaf, and she's like, there's a bite in it. So I made sure when there was lemon loaf, hers was put aside.
Good.
No one was getting her lemon loaf.
Just put a little name on it.
Exactly. For her only. So since I was the food bringer, we would get also free coffee. So when they would go get the gas for the boats, the gas station people would give them free coffee.
Ooh.
It was weird. So I, of course, was working 2 jobs. I was working, I had to be there at 7 a.m. in the morning, and then I was going straight from there to my restaurant job. So I was working from 7 a.m. till 1 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
So I was working a lot. So they just saw me chugging coffee. I'd bring my coffee in the morning, chug it, and then at lunchtime, they would go get coffee. But I'd bribed them enough with food that they started offering to go get me coffee. I was like, yes, we are getting somewhere. And then there was this one really cute skipper that I kind of had a thing for. Not gonna lie, he was he was one of not the Canadian guy, because the Canadian guy had a girlfriend. He was always nice to me, but the one Irish skipper who was always the nicest to me. And then one day he came, he brought me coffee without me having to ask. And then he's like, here you go, here's your black coffee. And I was like, he knows my coffee order. And then my dumbass was like, bitch, you drink black coffee. That's the easiest order in the world.
That is the most simple, but you're like, he knew it.
He remembered. So my ass was so delusional, but I never once asked him out. I remember on our last day that I was like, oh, I've never been on a gas run. So he's like, oh, you can come with me. So he takes me on a gas run. I'm like on cloud 9. We finally get to the gas station. The girl gives us free coffee. It's one of the hottest girls I have ever seen. So my little by heart was about to explode.
Too much excitement.
It was because she was so nice, so pretty, and just like, hey, like, I've never seen you before. Like, how are you? So these two are chatting me up. I'm standing there, like, just screaming internally. Oh, it was, what a way to end a job. It was my last day. We take the gas out, and he's like, hey, let's go for a little joyride. So we go ride, and they're like, oh, I guess we gotta go back. We dock the boat. It's extremely busy, and they're like, where are you two been? We got coffee. But so they were my favorite coworkers. But one day we were training, and they're like, okay, Kelsey, do you know the on deck safety spiel? I was like, no, because I work in the office every day. Okay, we'll take, so me and this other coworker, they hired a new guy, and they're like, we're going to take him out driving the boat. Kelsey, it's dead. Just go with them. Okay, so we're driving the boat. None of us are wearing life jackets. Of course, there's 3 life jackets in the boat per safety rules. He's driving, so this new kid is driving the boat, and then we're talking, and he go over a big bump, and he's like, whoa, oh, I don't want to fall in. And I was like, yeah, that would suck. And he's like, I can't swim. And I'm like, excuse me? Like, I went whole, like, lipstick in my Valentino bag.
Sir, you work around boats and open water.
We are in the ocean. We are in the open ocean. The docks are, like, very thin, and, like, they can be slippery, and you are driving a boat right now without a life jacket over giant waves, and you don't know how to swim.
And you didn't think this was a problem at all? No?
Why are you working here? And he's like, oh, this is the first job I got. And I was like, so I went into full mom mode, and I was like, you put that life jacket on right now. And he's like, I was like, no, you put it on right now, because I'm
not jumping in the water to save your ass.
I am not being held accountable for you. That water is absolutely freezing and very gross. Like, I am not jumping in the water to save you because you can't swim. And you know, if you fall in, I will have to. So, because morally, I will not let you drown, but I will not be happy about it if I have to save you from drowning.
I'm fucking pissed.
So we get back, and I just, like, we get back, my coworker, I go sit in the office, and they're like, are you okay? And I was like, he can't swim. Like, I fully told on, and they're like, yeah, he seems fine. And I was like, does nobody get the situation here?
Open water.
Like, all of my coworkers were just like, and I was like, he cannot swim. And then one of the Irish guys comes in, and he's like, yeah, I heard he can't swim. Well, I'm a lifeguard. I'll figure it out if something happens.
Well, at least he had a lifeguard.
Yeah. I was like, okay, we have a lifeguard. Cool. I am off the hook. Saving this poor kid if he falls in. God. And this was not unreasonable. So we also had these little ferries beside us. So on the docks, there was the boat rental place and then a little ferry dock. One day, I'm sitting at my front desk, and this girl comes running in, and she goes, do you have any towels? And I'm like, yeah, we have some there. Why? And she's like, why? She's like, a customer fell in.
Oh, no. So it does happen.
Yeah, so a customer fell off the ferry. I guess they were trying to get out of the ferry boat, and I don't know how, but they fell in between the water and the boat. So they fell in the water. And then another time, one of the ferry workers fell in the water. They were trying to tie up the ferry, and they slipped. And so this is not...
It's not like a random, like, once-in-a-lifetime thing. It's a kind of a constant
It happened twice while I worked there in one summer, both from this ferry place. Like, none of my coworkers fell in, but twice. Like, if I had a nickel for every time that happened, I'd have 2 nickels.
Which is not a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice.
Exactly. So, oh God, that is the best, like, summer job I've ever had. I thoroughly enjoyed working there. I was out in the sunshine, but I wasn't in the direct sun. Mm-hmm. Like, once you got over, like, the seasickness, it was really nice being on the water every day.
You had a nice view.
Yeah.
And a nice view, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah. My boss didn't care if I got mad at tourists, because tourists were really rude to me, so I'd just hang the phone up on them, or we would be completely booked, and they would go, well, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, let me just pull a boat right out of my ass. He did not care. He was like, we are making so much money. I don't care. So that is my lovely summary of all my summer jobs. And I would have to say, if you can get a summer job with a bunch of hot men, just bribe them. Moral of the story.
Yeah, moral of the story. And don't play spoons with skate guards.
Yeah.
Not safe.
Very different morals we have
Very
here.
different morals.
But know who has morals? All of our friends. So we decided to do kind of something different this week. Mm-hmm. We decided to reach out since we both don't have that many summer jobs. I mean, we both know I could talk about boats for an hour, but I was told that maybe that wouldn't be the most interesting. But if anyone wants to watch Mamma Mia with me... Maybe we'll do a whole podcast reviewing Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia, here we go again. So we decided to reach out to our friends and followers because we wanted to hear their best and worst summer job experiences. So, Amy, do you want to take it away?
I'll take it away.
Drum roll.
So we have our first story here. It's by listener of the podcast and actually a coworker of mine, and we're going to call her Sir.
Okay. Sir.
Sir. That's okay. She goes by Sir. And so this is a story from when she worked at her other job. She worked at an ice cream store. So one day at work, she said that she wasn't feeling well to her supervisor. And all her supervisor told her to do was go eat some ice cream and keep working. You'll be totally fine. So her, just being her little self, she was like, okay. And she got ice cream and kept working. And it got really busy and she was rushing around the store from side to side, but she started feeling really, really dizzy. And she just ignored it and like joked around with her coworkers about how she felt sick. And like she just kept joking that she was going to faint. And all her coworkers were like, ha, ha, ha. So in her words, she said as she was making a triple scoop cone, which sounds like a lot of work, she was running from the other side to get some flavor to put on top. And she, in her words, said she stopped functioning. From there, she blacked out. And the only thing she remembers is waking up in a ambulance. And all she has from that time is a photo of... all she has from that is a photo of her passed out at work that her coworker took. So she is now known at her old job place as the girl who passed out.
That is cold. If you're going to take a photo of your coworker, be like me, and I took it while we were in the hospital.
Yeah, don't do it in the moment. That should not be your first reaction.
God. Wow.
But we want to say thank you, Sir.
Thank you, Sir.
Sharing your story with us.
Oh, what a true trooper Sir is.
Oh, man, I couldn't even imagine. As someone who's passed out, it's not a fun experience, but I've never passed out at work. So, nope.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess the next story is also mine, from another lovely listener who's actually my brother. His name, we talked about him before, Keegan. Big fan of the podcast.
My fiance when I turned 50.
And Keegan's story is a little interesting. I love my brother a lot. In his words, if anyone knows, he likes to think of himself as a young Nick or Joey Diaz. They're like MMA fighters.
Okay, I was like Nick and Joe. Was Kevin?
No, not Jonas Brothers. But they're like MMA fighters who literally don't give two shits. And that's my brother to a T. And so I'm going to keep this as PG-13 as I can because this is a little 18A rated R story. And so, in Keegan's words, just a quick little, too long, didn't want to read summary. There was a couple summers ago where Keegan worked in Mexico, and his job in Mexico was he was a bouncer at a strip club. Can I say that? I don't know. We'll if it gets bleeped out, y'all will figure that out later. He worked there. And there was a night where he drove out to this other house and basically shit hit the fan real hard and he ended up getting in a car chase with some gang members and he almost died.
Just your normal run-of-the-mill summer job.
Yeah, in Keegan's word, but nothing too crazy, LOL. You know, a little crazy. If anyone wants to hear the full story, maybe that'll be its own episode.
That's an After Dark episode.
That's a very After Dark episode. And then the next story is from my other brother, who, night and day, folks, night and day stories. My other brother worked at a theme park in Calgary. It was called Callaway Park. Lots of kids worked there in the summer. They all got summer jobs. But my brother had the lovely job of making cotton candy and doing snow cones. So I remember one time...
Very, very similar to Keegan's job.
Super similar, like basically parallel jobs. And I remember we went to visit him one year, and we went up to his stand, and he was just completely covered in cotton candy. Like, it was stuck. He had a hat on. It was somehow coming out of his hat. It was stuck to the hat, stuck to his arm hair, and he was just blue, like, everywhere.
Everywhere?
Everywhere. We're talking a little Smurfy.
Oh, if you could see us, I'm giving the biggest wink. I know what you mean by everywhere.
Big old wink. Fun fact about that summer, too, I found out I was allergic to red food coloring from getting a snow cone from my brother. So that was fun.
This was the summer he tried to poison me.
So thank you. You didn't work. I'm still alive. I'm telling the story.
Oh, you look pretty good for a dead bitch.
Yeah. She's alive. But those, I think, are kind of nice stories. And I think we have a little bit of a theme park trend to continue.
True. The theme parks are good summer jobs, right?
Oh, yeah.
Especially in Canada. You can't really run the theme park in the winter.
No.
So I have a quick story from a friend of mine. We'll call him Roller Coaster Tycoon. Super quickly, I used to work for a swing ride, and people were always so scared before buying the tickets. So they'd ask dumb questions like, has anyone ever died? It's a dumb question.
Yeah.
And I started coming up with the wrong answers just to scare them, even more like, oh, not this week, or just a few birds, but duck your head. You'll be fine.
That's not scary at all.
Sir, yeah. And because he sent me a photo, and it was one of those, like, they drop and swing. Those are very high up. Like,
are those, like, the ones you need to sign, like, a safety?
Oh, yeah, you need to sign one of those waivers for it. So I get that. But also, has anyone ever died? I mean, probably, but...
That's why they have those waivers.
Exactly. And then we have another one from our good friend, Kylan, our best friend's fiance. Now, he's a wordsmith, this one.
He is. This is all. We didn't change anything about this story.
Reading this one word for word. It was the start of the day, around 9 o'clock, and it was pouring. It was that day that the heavens decided to open up on that little slice of paradise. Now, before I go further, throughout the course of my employment at the Slides, I answered to two higher-ups. We'll call them Bill and Ted. The two of them had a real good cop, bad cop kind of thing going, where Bill would only really open his mouth if there was something to be said, leaving Ted to deal with being the charismatic talker. Now on this day, while Ted was giving us the morning debrief under the cover of the outdoor cafe, Bill was sitting looking grumpy with his morning coffee, just mean mugging at the wall. Ted finished up his portion of the spiel, and then he asked Bill if he had something to say. Bill was completely silent. He stood up, walked out of the cover of the cafe, and stared into the heavens, and he bellowed, "It's pissin' rain!" Then he sat down without another word. The end. Thanks, Kylan.
Thank you. Can you imagine this is like very somber man just walking straight into the rain, and you're probably, I don't know, I was probably pretty young at this age, just being like, is he okay? What is he doing? And then just shouting at the sky, it's pissing rain!
Because you can imagine, what was the morning debrief? Like, okay, let's hope no kids pee in the pool today. Like, remind everybody to wear water shoes.
Yeah.
Like, if you see any Band-Aids, scoop it up fast, and then just, it's pissing rain.
Pissing rain. Just hoping that people will at least come to the water park in the rain. I don't know.
I mean, most water parks are open, rain or shy. It's lightning.
Yeah, lightning will shut them down. But yeah, that's, I think, all the stories. Oh, wait, no, sorry. We have one from our lovely friend Dan, but she has some voice clips, so we will just insert them for your listening pleasure.
Yes, we thought it was better coming out of her mouth than ours.
Absolutely. So here is her story.
So I think one of the worst things about working at that place was the fact that everyone there was under the age of 20. I'll say 22, 23. Like, everyone there. I don't think there was even a 23-year-old. I would say like 20 maybe. And I was like one of their top managers, and I was 19 years old, 18 years old. And another girl our age was another one of the top was the top manager there. Like, she was even my boss. Anyway, because everyone was so young, they could take advantage of us. And so I would work like 16-hour days with a 40-minute break for dinner. And I would just like run to the McDonald's across the street and have McDonald's in the back room and like a shitty, I don't know, like behind one of the food trucks at the Peony. Like, it was a bad time. They really took advantage of us, and they didn't pay overtime. We were all sweating. We wouldn't get free food. We couldn't even listen to our own music. We had to like listen to my boss's music. We couldn't do anything for ourselves there. It was terrible. And there were some like weird customers too. So we did mini donuts and lemonade. So we would put like this syrup in our lemonade if you wanted it. And it was like, think of like a snow cone syrup. Like, you know, when you get like red strawberry snow cone and stuff. So you could add syrups to your lemonade if you wanted to. And we would get kids. A lot of kids would come up and just ask for an empty cup and just drink like a cup full of blue liquid syrup. Like, it was gross. When we would work in the marketplace up at the, like, you know, the Peony showroom, like the marketplace, we would be able to trade our lemonade or our donuts for like other things in the marketplace, which is kind of fun. So like, for 1 or 2 bags of donuts, I can get like one of those feather hair extensions. I think that someone got there's those pillows that, like, you know, those pillows that you can inflate with air and they kind of like look like a big donut, but they're like I used to call them vagina pillows, honestly, but they're like those big circles and they have that slit in the middle. People used to trade donuts for those. Someone, I think they gave like the whole staff lemonade, and there was like a bunch of donuts, and they got, obviously not for free, but they got like $20 taken off like a whole bartending set that came with like the shaker, came with this machine that like, it was like a Keurig kind of. So like you just add your alcohol and put your whatever mixes in. That was pretty cool. So I think that was like the best thing about working there. We also would get very weird people at the very end of the night, like after Playland closed down, so all the games and stuff would close. Do you know how like there's still the Dueling Pianos beer garden? Well, we were like the stand directly across from them. So all the other food stands would be shut down, but there'd be like 4 or 5 of us that were just by this beer garden that would have to stay open late. You would get people at 2 a.m. just like buying like $50 worth of lemonade and donuts. A lot of the people that like tried to show off with their girlfriends and boyfriends or whatever and would like come with the giant stuffed animal and be like, yeah, I just won this at the bottle toss. It was so bad. We used to have a lot of like wasps in our stand too during the day when it was really hot. And we had this one customer who ordered, I guess, like 2 lemonades, like one for her and one for her kid. And a wasp literally came like as she's paying for it, came darting out of the window that we're, talking through and stung her like right in the face as we were talking. Like, we watched this all go down. No one knew what to do. We gave her free lemonade. We're like, I don't know. Yeah, God, what other things happened? It was so long ago. I can't really remember any specific stories. I just remember getting taken advantage of and feeling like shit afterwards. And then coming home and getting home and it's like 3 a.m. And I'm like, I have to be back there at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Like, what the hell am I doing? Especially for no overtime. Ugh, stupid job. I hope that owner is like burning. I hated that job. Oh, I did get one guy once. He saw me like walking back from the marketplace to our main stand, which is the one across from the beer garden. So he saw me walking back holding all the donuts, and he was drunk. And he came up and he started like following me I was like, oh, what the hell? Like, obviously, I'm terrified. I'm like 17 years old. I know who's this random man following me. And he starts asking me if there's like, if I can get donuts for free. If we can get like, yeah. He's like, oh, come on, those are extra bags. Just give me a free bag. I'm like, no, like, I'm sorry. I can't give you these bags. Because I'm scared that my boss is going to get mad at me, which in hindsight, I should have just given him a bag. But I was like, no, I can't give you these free bags. And he's like, oh, well, is there a family discount? And I'm like, I guess so. Really, the family discount is just we give him a free bag of donuts. But I was like, yeah, I guess there's a family discount. And he's like, oh, well, I'm your brother now. And they just kept following me. And I was like, I was going to go this way. And then I like weaved in a bunch of food trucks and he lost me. But yeah, he started saying like, I'm your daddy now, I'm your father. It was so weird. Yeah, it was wild. So there was good parts of it, but there was also, the drunk idiots that would like terrify you. But one time after our shift, we all we closed down our stand and stuff, and we all went to the manager, like the owner of the company. We went to his truck, and this is like weird because he was like 40, and then like I said, we're at tops 20, and we all went into the back of his truck. He had one of those big cube trucks, and we hotboxed it, and then we danced around the parking lot, and it was a great time. It's fucking weird when I think about it. Yeah. On my breaks, I would see Super Dogs sometimes. So anyway, it's a lot.
I really think there's been a theme here. We have the theme park summer job theme. Bees. And just being young and working a summer job, you get taken advantage of because they know you're here for a very short time.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's such a shitty thing about summer jobs, but it honestly is just, sadly, that's a part of it. They know you're not here forever. They can pay you shit. They can treat you shit. And just stay away from the bees.
Stay away from the bees. And you know what? As like Danielle talked about, bartering. That seems to be the way to go. Just make friends with everyone, especially if you work in like a theme park or a kind of like pop-up.
Or marketplace, yeah. If you got something to trade, you do that. Mm-hmm. Like me, I traded food for friendship.
There you go. Yeah.
But thank you so much for listening. And remember, summer is over and seasonal depression is almost here. But so is pumpkin spice, so hold on to that while you can. And then with that, Amy, give him the good old plug the outro.
Outro plug. Here we go. So thank you guys so much for listening. If you want to send us any stories that you have, or if you have any topics you want to listen to us about, or if you just have some memes or you want to talk, you can follow us on Twitter at CYTMS Podcast. You can find us on Instagram at Can You Take My Shift? Very straightforward, all one word. And you can listen to us on Apple Music. You can listen to us on Spotify. You can listen to us on Anchor. You can also listen to us on YouTube, which is great. Listen and watch. And a bunch of other ones. I think we're also on Google. If you go to the Anchor website, it'll tell you all of them there.
We're not going to leave any of the summer jobs in the description. No summer
jobs.
Not this week.
No summer jobs in the description. But yeah, again, just thank you so much for listening. This is our 8th week. We've been at this for 2 months. So that's very exciting. And we're getting back into school. So schedule might start getting a little shifty, but we are going to try our absolute darndest to keep giving you guys new episodes and new content. So without further ado, Kelsey, can you take my shift?
Nah, I got more pie to eat.
You know what? Fair. That's fair. It was good pie.
Oh, thank you. Lucas, I hope you enjoy the pie.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.